Welcome back to the boat restoration series, where I'm converting a 1940 seaplane tender into an off-grid liveaboard.
Okay. Oh yeah, no bother. No bother.
Continuing with the repairs to the bow, I removed the port side lifting eye to assess the timbers behind the diagonal mahogany planking. In order to remove the rotten planks, we need to remove the copper rivets first. Here we're cutting out the calico material. It's like a canvas sort of fabric, which is between the two mahogany diagonal planking, fastened with small copper tacks. So for the copper rivets themselves, they went through the two thicknesses, the two mahogany planks, and into the oak ribs as well. But anywhere you didn't have oak ribs, it still went through the two layers of mahogany planking. Removing the lifting eye itself on the outside, whereas on the inside we're removing the inner steel plate. And this way now we can further assess the mahogany planking behind the diagonal planking. You've got your thicker timbers that would have built up that section or that spacing between the lifting eye and the diagonal mahogany. Screws. So I was surprised to see that the rod is nowhere near as bad as what we'd seen with the lifting eye on the starboard stern. The starboard stern, where we taken out that lifting eye, that timber was it was so rotten it had gone to dust. It was like dry rot. water had set in over time. It constantly kept occurring, and it was just turned to powder. It was dust. I'd never seen timber so rotten before. So I was surprised to see actually that this wood was pretty good in places. And of course we'll still have to replace it just to get that lifting eye back on. It would be more for show rather than anything else, and to keep it in keeping with the original design. And again, we'll waterproof as much as possible to make a barrier and keep out any water, because as we've seen with as what we're seeing with these lifting eyes is that's really the pitfall. Where water is working its way in there, and further on that line, of course, we'll check the other lifting eye. It'll never be for their intended purpose. We're never going to lift the boat through, using these lifting eyes. You could never chance that, and to work that way back into the structure, and technically would be quite difficult. So removing the rubbing strake so that we can easily access this part of the boat, we can get access to the frames, just makes it easier for getting the sheets of plywood in place. Really, that's the main reason. We can get our single sheet of plywood in, we can then get our second sheet and laminate them together without any restrictions from that the rubbing strake. And we can make up a new rubbing strake if we need to, or repurpose that old one, treat it if needed. It seems really, really strong, and I'm actually not sure what timber this is, but it seems much harder than mahogany, and I can't see from how it's aged. It's hard to identify what timber it is, even referencing it. But it's I think we might get away with using this one again, this part of it. If not, we can make up a new piece. We scarf it in place. We do 2 joints, and it'll still be nice and strong. Removing the rotten section of the inner gunnel, and you can see this has gotten very rotten. This is pretty much the same deterioration rate as other parts of the boat. So you look at the gunnel here, and more than likely it's the same, or if not worse, in other places. It's at such a difficult area as well, because it's just where the deck meets the hull or the gunnel, and so for now we remove it here as far up as you can see. We're not going to go too far further up to the bow, because already it's a really difficult area. I've already done all that restoration work and varnishing the bow without doing too much serious damage to all that good work, and having to unscrew. Like, if you wanted to repair the gunnel back to its original way all over the boat, like you'd be tearing up the deck, and that's just not something that can be done right now. All the boat's exposed to the elements. And that's further down the line. Right now you can still, the deck is so strong, it doesn't pose a threat to the structural integrity so far. I mean, you're able to walk around the whole boat and not go through it, so that tells you something. But as I've said before, guys, and it's to get the boat sealed from the elements, to get extra longevity out of the boat, to save it, so that further down the line it can be properly craned out, and then proper restoration can be done. So finally, it's time to install the chimney. Removing the old plywood capping piece protecting the hole, and I'm surprised that water had actually gotten through here. This is quite a surprise, because if I remember correctly, I put quite a lot of Sikaflex in here, but again, I'll just have to make sure that doesn't happen when we're installing the stainless steel, because this will be a stainless steel collar or section that will, when we're securing the chimney in place properly, and we'll take all the necessary precautions. But I'll make sure to use Denso tape and Sikaflex in combination of 2 of them together, and it'll be extra security, so guaranteed that no water should get through. But I better not speak too soon, because we're working here on sealing the elements in Ireland against from entering, and that's another story altogether. It's just, as you can tell, it's not easy, but it's all progress. So this is an old CIE stove used by the Irish public transport provider in trains in the 1970s. I'll get more information on this. It's quite hard to find a certain detail. I'll elaborate more on this in a future episode. So far from the initial test, this is a fantastic like rocket stove. It's incredible, you know, no insulation in the boat. It just takes nothing to heat up the place. It takes about 5-inch sticks or bits of turf there that I was just testing, and it's just crazy. Like, no insulation, you've got a huge hole in the bow, and entering at the wheelhouse cabin, the sliding doors, you're just welcomed with warmth, and that's a nice sense of accomplishment. You really feel like progress is down the line, and yeah, it's a nice feeling. So to rip the inner gunnel and to make a new one, we really need an accurate machine, something that can cut various angles, because there's all sorts of angles on it. It's not just quite straightforward. So maybe we'll make our template here. We'll bring that down to the master craftsman, my Uncle Peter. You might have seen him in previous episodes, and we'll get to see also what else he's working on, and it'll be really exciting. And you get to learn from a true master of this craft. So working about the frames, removing any rivets and brass screws. 2 of the main frames here will be replaced, most likely, more than likely actually, definitely, because one of them I was thinking like, it's not so bad, but it does have rot, and I just want to have the extra security, like replace them. We'll use large timbers because that's what we have at hand here. We'll double them up for the extra security and have that strength, so that's the best thing to do in this case. So the hardwood teak strips on the 2 sliding doors at the wheelhouse cabin entrance, I'm reattaching these. I want to make sure they're secured. I wasn't happy with the way I'd done them before, and they just weren't going to be long lasting and as strong as they could have been. So I'm reattaching them. I'm going to use Cascamite and make sure the mix is done properly, and then also we'll treat this any soft wood, any punky wood that's soft, and wood hardener, and yeah, that's pretty much that. Steam box, so we're always working with really long pieces. It just isn't sufficient to make it. So I'm mixing epoxy with wood shavings to fill any gaps. It's extra strength, and also you'll get more mileage out of your epoxy this way. Especially I've just bought it in a tiny little like syringe tub. Happy with that. I'm happy with that, and then we're going to get Cascamite to follow up in that bit of Weetabix there. gluing in a piece of plywood cut to fit, and it'll make up that difference, that space, that gap, and then clamping the teak strip down in place using just 2 planks. It's as simple as that. Two planks, 4 screws, and I don't have any good clamps at hand, so that is the best thing to do. Next best thing, and it works just as good, if not better. I've said this before in a previous episode, and I'm just stunned at how long lasting these doors are. My uncle made these doors over 25 years ago using good quality marine plywood, and after a little bit of maintenance from myself, hopefully, and I don't see why not, these doors will get another long lease of life. This time I'm mixing mahogany sawdust shavings with the epoxy to fill any gaps between the hardwood strip and the door frame or the edge of the door. And obviously it's more in keeping, it matches much better with the wood stain on the door. And further down the line as well, I'll make sure to get the wood stain painted over this, and I'll sand it and paint it. But it's a nice little trick to kind of keep it match much easier. So seeing as I didn't have enough epoxy for the next door, I just made sure to use a regular filler. So I'm drilling into the soft edge of the plywood doors, just where there's a little bit of soft wood or it's gotten punky. Drilling plenty of holes, don't be shy with drilling the holes, and that way you can work your wood hardener into it and make sure it really works its way into every part of it. First I started using a syringe, but then I shortly realised that there was some sort of reaction with the inner seal or the rubber seal in the syringe, and I couldn't. It just made it unusable. So I believe that people are using the syringes more for working with epoxy and using epoxy as a wood hardener and filling any space in punky wood or trying to get it into intricate spots. So I know that for next time, and I just continued to use, I resorted to using a small brush. I worked in lots and lots of wood hardener until it just couldn't work its way in anymore, until it filled those holes, and just it drank up pretty much all of it, and that worked well. And then I wiped it down, and then I made sure to use again fillers to fill the holes. Next I'll make sure to follow it up with wood stain to match. So I'm screwing brushes in place for all of the sliding doors. This is preventing drafts. Also, I'll have to follow up next with using a rubber strip, and I'll use that on the cabin itself, not the door, on the cabin, and that way you have that extra security that'll stop the driving rain, the rain that loves to come in at any gap. Yeah, so that'll stop that, and that should be good. It should be sealed from the elements then, right? Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Once again, thank you for your continued support. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And I'm reading all the comments, guys, so if you don't see me replying to all of them, I'm still reading them all, and I do see them when they pop up, and it's really great to see all this advice you guys are giving. It's fantastic. I'm learning, and at the same time, you know, you're getting something in return. You know, these videos, it's a fantastic community of people, and I really can't thank you guys enough. I love checking out the work that you guys are doing, and I just love that. So thank you again for all the continued support. Remember to click that notification icon to get notified whenever I release a new episode. I have a Patreon page set up and a PayPal link in the description below if you feel like supporting my project there. Also, I'd really appreciate if you could share this video with friends and family who might also be interested in my videos, could learn something, or in return can give me advice on how I can do something better and improve. That would be fantastic. As always, guys, stay productive and have fun creating.